Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second session of the day. I hope you've been having a great institute so far and had a wonderful first session, or if you're just joining us this morning for the second session, I hope you're having a wonderful morning. We're so delighted to really have an awesome slate of national speakers with us around a variety of topics. And so I hope that you've been able to find an opportunity and a space to look at the sessions and dial in to see what is interesting to you. I just wanted to share a few housekeeping items with you. We just would ask that you stay muted during the presentation unless you've been asked to speak, or if you have a question that you'd like to pose to our awesome presenters. We will be sending out the sketch form information. We'll need each individual, if you're requesting sketches, to complete that at the end of the conference. If you are missing a session, you'll have until June 15th to go back and complete that. So you have got some time here. We'll just send that information out and you can request that. You can earn up to 8.5 sketches for that. Also, a reminder this afternoon that we have the wonderful fireside chat with the new director of the National Office of Career and Technical Adult Education, Latoya Newsom, at 2:30. That was kind of a late addition to our calendar schedule. So if you didn't get a chance to see that on the schedule, make sure that you pencil that in for this afternoon at 2:30 to 3 o'clock as well. It's an additional session that's been added in. Just another reminder that we are recording today's session, and any of the materials will be made available to you at the conclusion of the Institute. So you have that information, always can go back. We would encourage you, even if you are working, to be on camera. We like to create a space of community, and I know that this will be an interactive session to learn. And so we just encourage you to create that sense of community and be engaged and try to set aside that time and that space to be here as well. So we're happy to have two awesome presenters that I had first been introduced to at COABE, Amy Dalsimer and Hanna Schlosser. And I'll let them kind of speak to their work, but they are both part of the American Institutes for Research and really have been doing a lot of project work in the area of integrated education and training design. They've been working with the U.S. Department of Education on a number of different priority projects. Some of our Michigan colleagues have participated in there, but also really wanting to share with you all some strategies, some trends that they're noting around integrated education and training programs around the nation. It's a hot button issue for us. I know we've got many colleagues on here that are implementing IET already, looking to implement IET. So I'm just very excited that they're here to share their expertise with you all. So I'll turn it both over to you to continue the presentation. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you to MACAE for inviting us. We're really thrilled to be here with our Michigan Adult Ed colleagues to share a little bit more about our Advanced IET project and talk with you really about the opportunities for strengthening and growing IET in Michigan. We're going to introduce ourselves first, and then we're going to dive in with our agenda. So I'm Amy Dalsimer. I'm the Advanced IET Project Director and also a Principal Technical Assistance Consultant at the American Institutes for Research, or AIR. Since joining AIR 5 years ago, I've led several federal and state technical assistance initiatives focused on improving programs, services, and instruction to adult learners. Many of these projects have been specifically focused on IET, career pathways, and contextualized career-focused instruction. But what I really want to share with you is that before joining AIR, I served as the executive director of a large adult ed program at LaGuardia Community College in New York City for more than a decade. And I had the opportunity while I was there to develop and implement several IET programs. And I can honestly say that in more than 25 years of working in adult ed, I started probably like many of you as a tutor and then a teacher in adult ed, that developing and running IET programs is some of the most fulfilling work that I have ever done in adult ed. And that's really because I got the chance to witness firsthand the power of the IET model and how the program accelerated our students' career opportunities and improved their economic mobility, tangibly improving their lives and the lives of their families. And so I became passionate about the IET model as a program director and a practitioner more than a decade ago. And so it's a real honor to be able to lead the Advanced IET project and have the opportunity to provide technical assistance to develop, strengthen, and scale IET programs nationally and support my colleagues, my longtime adult ed colleagues in the field. I'm joined in this endeavor by our training lead and our coaching lead, Hanna Schlosser, and I'm going to ask her just to introduce herself to you for a minute.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's so nice to be here with you today. My name is Hanna Schlosser, and I'm a technical assistance consultant in the workforce development and adult education literacy practice area at AIR. I am so lucky to work with Amy and the team on the Advance IET project across multiple tasks. As Amy said, that includes working on the development and delivery of training materials, as well as the coaching materials and processes. In addition to my work on the Advance IET project, I also serve on a variety of federal and state TA projects. But prior to joining AIR, I was the manager of the Professional Learning Opportunities Project in Pennsylvania, which is a state-funded leadership project. And through that project, one of the opportunities I had was to work closely with programs developing IET programs for their IELCE participants. So that was my introduction and start to IET, and I'm so excited to be able to continue growing and learning about IET with all of you and with the Advanced IET team. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Hanna. And we're really excited to be here to share the work that we're doing around technical assistance and resources for you that will be available for you as IET practitioners. And really, we're really excited to learn more about Michigan's IET programming and the planning that's going on in your state and your programs. I just want to kind of reiterate Patrick's invitation this morning to turn on your cameras if you can. I know not everybody can, but Hanna and I feel a little lonely when we don't get to see who's in the room. So if you can, if you're willing to come on camera and you can, please do. It really helps us. Hi, thanks, Anne. Hi, Carol. Hi, Joel. Hi, Brianne. Appreciate you guys. And we really want to encourage an active participation. If you have questions, post them in the chat. Hanna and I will be trying to monitor it, as well as Patrick and I think some colleagues. That's fine, Nancy, if your camera doesn't work. I understand. If you can come on camera, it's really preferable. I know you guys have probably taught virtually and you feel the same. So, all right. So let's just jump in with the agenda. As I said, we want to introduce you to the work that we're doing on the Advanced IET project and the training and tools that will become available to you over the next few years to help you grow and improve your IET programs in Michigan. We want to spend some time introducing you to the IET quality indicators today, which is a tool that will help you as program practitioners and also as state professional development and state staff think about, are we running a quality program? How do we measure that? How do we think about improvement, continuous improvement? And we're going to spend a good chunk of time really in activities and discussion today. We really want to hear from you. And then we'll just wrap up with some resources and where you can find things. So hi, thanks everybody for coming on camera. I'm so appreciative. First, let's just start so we know who's in the room and here. If you could just post in the chat your name, the organization you're from, and your role in the organization. Are you a teacher, coordinator, navigator? And let us know one thing that excites you or interests you about IET. Something you're thinking about, maybe why you chose to come to this session. I'm going to give you all a minute to post that information. Wonderful. Hi, Miriam from Dearborn. And it's great to see some career navigators in this room. Excellent. Brian, welcome to Adult Ed. I got bit by the adult ed bug like 30 years ago. Never knew about it, the secret special corner of the education world, and I never left. So I hope you have the same experience, Brian. Thank you. Welcome, Jackie. These are great. Thank you guys for introducing yourself. It's great to see that we have a mix of administrators, navigators. Sounds like some of you are just starting out with IET. Others are, more along the road. So great. Thank you so much. Hannah and I like to do interactive presentations, and so we're going to be asking you to annotate. I'm just going to do a quick check to see that your annotate works, and if it doesn't, you will have opportunity to put your responses in the chat. But for those of you who may need a refresher, if you go to your view, I think it's view, Hannah, you might have to help me here. You go up to your options and you select annotate from the drop-down menu on the top of your Zoom window. You can select stamp. I usually do with a check or a heart. And can you go ahead and just go ahead and stamp or heart or check or write on this slide that you see so I know you can do it? All right. We've got it. Thank you. And if you can't annotate, that's okay. We're going to give you the opportunity to answer using numbers in the chat. So thanks for that annotation. Hannah, do you mind clearing that? All right, so let's do our first annotate so we understand a little bit more about you. We'd like you to, on the scale of 1 to 5, rate your experience designing and implementing IET programs. From 1, which is I haven't done it yet, all the way along across the spectrum to others see me as an IET expert and I have a wealth of knowledge and experience in IET. So you can annotate on the screen anywhere on that line you see where you see yourself fitting in, or you can use the numbers 1 through 5. I see some of you are using the numbers. We see some annotation. Karen, if you can't annotate, it's okay. You can just use the numbers 1 through 5 also, if that's easier. Hannah, what are you seeing coming in here?
My annotate tool got stuck from unmuting Amy. I'm seeing in the chat, I'm seeing a couple of 1s, a 2 and a 3. So that looks like the theme in the chat at the moment.
Okay, and I see a big cluster of 3s. So that's, people have supported the design and implementation of at least one IET. Maybe you've piloted, but you're still trying to grow your knowledge. And I see a lot of folks who are just starting out or kind of feel like somewhere between 1 and 3. And then we do have somebody who's stamped between 4 and 5. So that's awesome. If you feel like you're an IET, if you're really knowledgeable, please, contribute to this discussion today and help us as we go forward. That's excellent. All right, so we're going to clear that. And now let's chat in the chat box a little bit. This is another number 1 through 8, and you can use as many numbers as you want in the chat. Which aspect or aspects of IET development and delivery have you participated in? So this is basically about, what your role has been, and oftentimes we play multiple roles, hence picking multiple numbers. But 1 is identifying an IET program, so choosing your pathway, designing that program, administering an IET program, serving as an IET instructor, whether that be on the occupational career technical side or as the AE/ELL instructor, serving as an industry subject matter expert, practicing continuous improvement, evaluating an IET program, or other, or none. So go ahead and put your numbers in the chat. You can also annotate. I love seeing some of you annotate. This is awesome. Great. So you can check them off if that's how you want to do it. What do you see there, Hannah?
You know, some people have a experience in multiple aspects of development and delivery. 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 seems like a theme. Others have none, number 8 there. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also seeing identifying an IET program, number 1, and designing a program, number 2. There's also a clarification question. Could you define number 5?
Yes, great question. So oftentimes in IET design, if you're from industry, if you're a business or the employer, you're asked to serve as part of the IET design curriculum development, transition services, work readiness component. So some of you may be from our partners on the industry side, our business partners that are included and folded into the IET design and planning process. Hope that helps. All right. This is excellent. Thank you all so much. We're going to go ahead and clear the annotation. I do know that before we dive into really our content for today, I just wanted to take a minute to review the foundation and what the federal WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act requirements are for IET. I think this kind of helps us all to ground us in basically what the legislation and the federal policy says. I do want to say that states and territories may have other requirements, may have added other policy considerations or guidance for their state adult ed providers. So it's important, you know, for you all to understand the guidance that Michigan is offering to you, but I wanted to just kind of touch on what the federal requirements are for IET programs. So just as a reminder, and many of you are probably really familiar with this, but I know some of you said you're new to adult ed or new to IET. IET stands for Integrated Education and Training, and it is a service delivery approach that essentially integrates the 3 required components of an IET program in a concurrent and contextualized delivery approach. And those 3 required components are adult ed and literacy, so what we're all really familiar with. Language literacy could be math, reading, writing, listening, speaking, right? Both for our basic ed or our HSE students and also our ELL students. And it integrates together with workforce training. So that's that occupational focus, whether it be you know, healthcare workforce training, certified nurse training, or HVAC or welding, whatever the focus is, the occupational focus of your IET, along with workforce preparation. And workforce preparation are, you know, sometimes they're called those soft skills, or employability skills, but those are those skills that any employer, any industry is looking for: teamwork, critical thinking, ability to communicate, digital literacy skills. Those are those skills that kind of cross sectors or industries and are desired by employers and really needed in today's modern workplace. So the federal requirements essentially say that these 3 required components need to be integrated, concurrent, and contextualized. They also need to be of sufficient intensity and quality. They needed to be integrated and offered simultaneously within the overall scope of the program. They need to use occupationally relevant instructional materials, that's that contextualization piece, have a single set of learning objectives, align to whatever the state's adult ed content standards are. So if Michigan has a particular set of content standards, that's been considered in the design, and IETs need to be part of a career pathway. So that's a lot, and many of you are very familiar with this, but I just wanted to kind of provide that grounding before we kind of jump into today. Let me talk for a minute about what the Advanced IET project is. This is a technical assistance project, which is being funded by the U.S. Department of Education, OCTAE. And the project builds on the Increasing IET Opportunities for Adults project, which ran from 2019 to 2022. Some of you may have been part of that original design camp, IET design camp. I know Michigan participated. And that project resulted in an IET design toolkit and some train the trainer resources that can support the design and development of IETs for adults in your state. The current project is led by the American Institutes for Research, where Hanna and I work, but we're really grateful to be joined by our partners from World Ed, RTI International, and Memories Videography in this effort. I just want to touch base for a minute on kind of why the Advanced IET project is important. So if you look at the pie graph in front of you, this is from the 2021-2022 NRS adult education data. So in green are all the adult education students served, almost 900,000 in that year. And you see the sliver of the pie in blue is the number of IET students within adult ed. So you can see that there's just a tremendous opportunity for us to increase our programming and access for our students to these accelerated learning opportunities that can really revolutionize career and education pathways and move our students farther faster, preparing them for their chosen career pathways and increasing their access and preparedness for degree-bearing college programs too. And in addition to improving students' lives, our students' economic and career opportunities, IET programs really benefit our local economies and help our local businesses and employers by providing well-trained employees to meet workforce demand, especially in growth industries. So our IET project is really here to provide technical assistance to expand the availability and quality of IET programs that effectively support diverse adult learner pathways to high quality careers. The project, which just really kicked off in October, will provide some new training opportunities and resources. So we have 2 basic design camp cohorts that we're offering. One is closing this Friday, our first cohort, and we have another cohort starting in June. And I'm very happy to say that Michigan will be a part of that training cohort. So we will see some of you in our more intensive training in June. Then we'll have 5 advanced design camps, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a minute. We're also deploying, and this is part of Hanna's role, a national IET coaching cadre that will provide customized and targeted state technical assistance. So essentially a group of coaches who are IET experts who are trained as coaches that can provide states with more targeted and professional development essentially that's more customized to the needs of each of the states and kind of where they are in the process of scaling and strengthening IET models. We'll be curating and distributing a number of IET program and instructional resources through the links collection. So as a teacher in IET, you may have said, we're about to start, an IET in welding and I don't know anything about welding. Are there curriculum that I can reference? And this online IET resource repository our goal is to provide more tools, find them and provide them to the field.
Little brat.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you. Yep, there we go. We're also developing a video series focused on IET practitioners. So hoping to bring to life, like, how does this work? What does an IET program, what does that instruction look like? How is that intake done, like through a video series that's practitioner based and program based? And finally, there'll be 3 new online self-paced IET PD courses available through links. So as you have new staff, new teachers, as you design new programs, you'll have a set of tools to help your staff learn about IET and have the resources they need to do it. quickly, I talked about the basic design camp. So this is a map. We just wrapped up, as I said, our spring basic design camp, or we are just wrapping it up this Friday with 10 states and territories. And this summer we'll be kicking off with Michigan as part of our June cohort. And I'm very pleased to say that with our basic design camps between 2020 and 2023, we've nearly covered the map. So that's awesome. I want to share with you, and I know Hannah will be posting these links in the chat for you now. A couple of resources that are available to you now that I really encourage you to look for and look at. We have an IET design toolkit, which has desk aids. And Hannah, thank you, has posted the link to those for you. These resources, I think, are really useful to you. The toolkit and our Train the Trainer materials that accompany the toolkit outline a 4-phased approach to the IET design process. These were developed after reviewing a lot of existing materials, talking with state and local IET practitioners, consulting with OCTAE, and with a broad range of IET SMEs. And the 4 phases essentially are, iterated in the toolkit and through the Train the Trainer materials. In the research and assess phase, we walk users through how to do a needs assessment in 5 key areas, which are kind of essential to selecting your IET pathway and your program. And those include making sure that you're looking at state and local policy, considering career pathway options, looking at regional workforce development needs, examining community resources that are there to support your programming or leverage supports to your students, and considering both your learner, your student needs, and local business or industry needs. In the second phase, we focus on the importance of establishing a design team and setting program, learner, and partner goals as you design and plan for your IET. In the third phase, develop and implement, we spend some time in the toolkit digging a bit deeper into the critical effort that it takes really to build a single set of learning objectives and an integrated curriculum. We hear often that that's, a big new and challenging piece of running a quality integrated IET. So there's a full set of resources in the design toolkit on integrating developing your single set of learning objectives and integrating your units of instruction, along with some lesson plans, activities, and assessments. And finally, in the 4th phase of the design process, we focus on evaluate and improve, and kind of how do you build continuous improvement and evaluation into your program, even if you're just piloting your first one, and learning from it so that you can keep strengthening it and growing it. All right. So as I mentioned, there will be these 3 training and coaching opportunities as part of Advanced IET. So I just want to quickly say the basic design camps, again, Michigan is part of, again, the June 2023 design camp. So we're thrilled about that. Starting next year, we will be running the advanced design camp. And we hope that Michigan will send more teams to that experience. That will be, the advanced design camps are really intended to help teams apply these IET quality indicators that we're going to be looking at in a minute, and planning around the 4 levers of systems and workforce change, and how to strengthen and continuously improve and also grow our IET models through these levers of change, which are equity and quality, data and outcome-based decision-making, collaboration and industry engagement, and sustainability and scale. And then the final opportunity, and again, we hope Michigan will be interested in IET state coaching, is up to 10 states will receive 8 months of individualized coaching support focused on implementation and alignment, again, of building and strengthening and scaling IET. All right. I just want to touch for a second on, I mentioned the online IET repository that we're developing, and we have a huge focus on instructional resources. That's something we hear over and over again in the field is, you know, who's done this before? Can I see their syllabus? Can I see their lesson plans? And we've heard that. And we're going to be focusing on these these 6 industries. And these are the 6 industries that are kind of the top IET industries across the nation. So we know that different regions and different states also have more specialized focus depending on their local labor market, but these kind of cross many of our states. And so we will be providing resources, vetted resources to the field, as well as some non-instructional resources. For the career navigators that are here, we'll be definitely producing some student support, IET student support resources and sharing those. Another piece of the work that I just want to mention quickly is we are also, as part of the advanced IET, undertaking a scan of the adult ed field to identify promising or evidence-based specialized IET models and practices. The purpose of this work is really to expand our adult ed field's understanding of the evidence-based practices and models for specialized IET programming that serve diverse learners in a variety of settings. So you'll see here, we often get, and I'm sure that you do too in Michigan, questions about how can we design our IET programs for lower level students, right? How can we do that? So that's something that we're definitely leaning into, and we'll be looking to provide some specialized practices and models of how folks are doing that nationally and being successful at it so that you can learn from others. And I won't read all these to you, but all of these are practices that we feel help us on our mission to open access to accelerated career opportunities for our adult learners, and to do that in collaboration with our post-secondary partners, our industry partners, and serving students in a range of settings, whether they be in corrections settings or in rural locations within our states. And there's a lot of interesting emerging work going on around sectoral strategies, statewide strategies, and strategies that promote and center on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So more on that. Each year we'll be producing 2 briefs or spotlights on each of these categories of specialized models, as well as videos to share with you. So I'm really excited about that, because I think that this category is going to help to answer a lot of questions that we have as practitioners about how are people doing this? What are the best practices? How can I learn from others and take and kind of incorporate that into my own context and setting in a way that's going to serve my students and meet the needs of our local programming and our local industries. And finally, I mentioned those online PD courses. The first course on IET fundamentals, these are self-paced free online courses that will be on links, will be available in November. And we're really excited about this because these are resources that you have that you can share easily and without cost to anybody that you have working in your adult ed IET programming. We know there's turnover, we know teachers change, we know that leadership can change. And so these are the types of PD activities that will be available to you anytime, anywhere for free to help your teachers, your administrators, career navigators understand IET and kind of their role within it. Okay, so that was fast and I wasn't monitoring the chat at all. So I want to pause for a second. Were there any questions about advanced IET, Hannah or Patrick? Anything in the chat that we want to pause on or address?
I think that there was a question about who's participating, and we directed that participant to Kari or Brian to answer the question. But other than that, there haven't been any questions in the chat.
Okay, great. So I am now going to turn this over to Hanna, and we're going to really jump into those IET quality indicators and the substance around designing those programs.
Thanks, Amy. All right. Well, this is the part of the next part of the training today, where we're going to get you involved, doing some activities again, and really focusing on quality of IET programs. So before we do that, I just want to say that we're about to introduce the IET quality indicators. And we just introduced these quality indicators in April. So they're really hot off the press, which is very exciting. You're kind of getting one of the early looks at them, and I'm going to put them in the chat for you now. You don't need it at this moment, but in 2 slides, you are going to need them. So why don't you make sure you can download that and pull it up on your screen, and then give me a thumbs up. But again, you don't need it at this moment for any type of activity. So I just want to make sure you can access it. Give me a thumbs up once you have that pulled up. You can say yes in the chat too, if that's easier for you. Thanks, Nancy.
Seeing lots of thumbs ups now, Hanna, in the reactions.
Excellent. Okay, well, like I said, you can put that off to the side for the moment. We're going to come back to it in just a couple of slides. And the first thing I want to do is get a sense of what you all think of when you think of quality IET programming. And so for this activity, we're going to use Mentimeter. You have 2 options. You can either do this on your phone or you can do it on your computer. The first one, go to menti.com and enter the code that you see on the screen. Or you can use this QR code and scan it from your camera on your phone directly, and it should open. And I'm going to pause here just for a moment before I switch to the Mentimeter. I want to make sure you all can get in there okay. And then once you're in there, the prompt should appear on your screen. And again, the prompt is, what does quality IET programming look like? And you will be prompted to enter some words or some phrases. And I'm going to switch over now to the Mentimeter so we can take a look at that word cloud. If you need that number again, though, just let me know and I'll switch back. So we can see that there are some responses starting to come in. And if for some reason the Menti is not working for you, don't worry. You are also more than welcome to add those thoughts to the chat, and we will read those out to the group as well. So I'm starting to see some answers. I'm just going to call some of them out. So informative, interesting, inclusive, accessible. I know this moves quickly while you're all typing in there. Successful completers, I like the emphasis on completion there. Career navigator support, yes, and I know we have a couple of career navigators in the room today. That is critical to a successful quality IET program. Braided funding, leads to a new and better job. Yeah, we talked a lot about family sustaining wages, right? And putting them on a career path that leads to opportunities for growing in their own goals and toward a career pathway that leads to those sustainable wages. Training, we said inclusive, but that one's getting bigger. So it means that more people have written that in there. Let's see what else. Engaging. Wonderful. Real prep application. Yes. And that has a lot to do with what Amy was talking about at the beginning about that contextualized learning, which I see you've put in here as well. We are embedding and integrating those different components. Great. Timely. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts here about what quality IET programming looks like. I'm just going to check the chat, make sure we didn't have anyone add anything there. It looks good. So this will continue to reformat as you add more words. So feel free to keep checking it out. I see one more that I want to call out, opportunity for employment. Wonderful. So a lot of times there's a focus on the IET leading to a credential. And again, that opportunity to enter the workforce afterward. So let me go back to our PowerPoint here. And thank you for sharing your thoughts on what quality IET programs look like. Now I want to bring our attention back to those IET quality indicators that I had asked you to pull up in the chat a moment ago. And our quality indicators are intended to provide a set of features that an IET program should aspire to have. The quality indicators can help states and programs assess their existing IET programs and plan new ones, which I know many of you mentioned in the chat when you logged in today that you are hoping to start an IET. So this could be a place for you to take a look and see what you might be building toward as you design and plan for a new IET. They can also help you to identify priority areas for improvement over time and develop action plans to incorporate best practice strategies and promote shared learning. And the quality indicators have been grouped into 5 areas, and you see those on the screen in front of you. They are IET program design, collaboration and industry engagement, curriculum and instruction, student experience and progress, and program management, staffing, organization support. So those are the 5 categories that the quality indicators are grouped under. And the quality indicators were envisioned as a tool to assist the field with continuous improvement, which I mentioned earlier. So you'll want to think about these indicators as being on a continuum. In other words, you should consider adding them or at least some of them to your program plans or use them to enhance your current programs over time. Again, continuous improvement, focusing on strengthening the quality of our programming. And so again, you'll want to keep these in mind as you both build your programs and as you implement them and assess. So today is an opportunity for us to look at these together and discuss where your program may be strong and where you may need support. So we're going to take a moment to pause and actually read the quality indicators. And as you read the quality indicators, I want you to think about which 2 stand out to you the most. And then once I've given you a chance to read, I'm going to ask you to add those 2 numbers to the chat. Okay, so again, you're going to read these in a moment by yourself. And then you're going to reflect on the 2 that stand out to you, that kind of float to the top of your thinking. All right, so I'm going to go quiet for 2 minutes, and I'm going to have you read and then respond in the chat. I'm seeing some reflections starting to come through in the chat. And again, I posted the prompt there. The question is, which two QI quality indicators stand out to you the most? And you can add the number to the chat. Great. I can see some answers starting to come through. I see Patrick wrote, I see an investment area for many of our folks of has an established process and tools for communicating the vision and purpose of the IET program to various partners, employers, and students. Yeah, and T. Brown wrote, provides intake and orientation. That one stood out to you to help students onboard successfully. And they elaborated, we work mainly with ESL students and they need a lot of additional support throughout the process that need to be considered when looking at staffing levels and hours. We spend a lot of time providing one-on-one support to students in a college and career lab on top of the other required pieces of IET. Oh, a college and career lab, that's interesting. I'd like to invite, I see a lot of numbers coming through, some themes here. I'm seeing 2 repeated, number 6. Would anyone like to unmute and kind of talk about why you had selected the 2? What was it about those 2 quality indicators that stood out to you?
I can share. This is Brianne Steele. I'm from the Macomb Intermediate School District, and I put 2 and 6. I think 2 really resonated with me because I think it had a long-term outlook that these IETs can provide a pathway into not just a job, but then even more post-secondary education, career advancement. And I think career advancement is something that the current generation coming up is interested in and sometimes has struggled to find in the industries. And then I think 6 is really important because I think this is a problem or a challenge, I should say, for so many great opportunities across the state is we have a challenge in reaching those historically underserved populations.
Thank you for sharing that, Brianne. Yeah, and I think somebody had written about that piece in the word cloud that we did about access. And I think whoever had written that wrote a different word, but essentially the meaning that I think you were sharing was the equity of access. And that's a little bit what you're talking about as well there, Brianne. So we can see some crossover between your ideas of what quality looks like and what these quality indicators say as well. Wonderful. Does one more person want to unmute and share your thoughts around these quality indicators or the 2 that stood out to you the most?
Hannah, I see that Joel picked 11 and 17, and I don't want to put Joel on the spot, but those are, I really appreciate that. So I'm wondering, Joel, if you can elaborate on that.
For us, those are things that's not super clear. So what those might be. So that's why it was just because in our area, there's just a lot of need for a lot of different things and not really a specific need for one thing. So those would be things that we would really have to figure out.
Right, that tie into the employer and to industry and how to work with them. The 2 you picked seem to have that as something in common. Yeah.
Thank you, Joel. And thank you everyone for sharing these. I know there's a lot there and it's definitely a lot to process and not something that we expect you to kind of take in today and become experts at, but instead something to use as a starting point as you are thinking about addressing quality in your programs. But we do want to dig a little more deeply into them now and focus more closely on the categories. So we are going to go into some breakout rooms And like I said, this is going to give you the opportunity to dive more deeply into one of the categories of the quality indicators. So to do this, we're going to do a jigsaw activity. And if you aren't sure what I mean by jigsaw, that's totally fine. It just means that each breakout group is going to be focused on a different category of the quality indicators, so that when we return to the main room, you'll get to hear about the other categories of quality indicators that your group didn't have a chance to discuss. So when you get to your room, the first thing you're going to want to do is look at the top of your Zoom breakout window to see which category your group has been assigned. Your Zoom room will be named according to the category. Then you and your groups are going to reread the quality indicators under that category specifically and focus your discussion on the quality indicators in that category only. You're going to share and discuss one quality indicator that's a strength for your program in that category, or could be a strength for your program if you haven't yet started developing IET, where you think it might be a good starting point for you all because it's something you feel maybe strong about in other programming areas that you do, or you feel like you have the right partners or staff in place. So again, even if you don't yet have an IET program, you could think about potentially where your areas of strength might be. And then secondly, you're going to identify one quality indicator that's a challenge for your program in the assigned category. And you are going to talk about what might you need, for example, resources, funding, training, or professional development partners, things like that, to help you address that challenge. And again, if you are new to the world of IET, your program hasn't created an IET, what do you think could be a challenge for your program and why? So again, when you get into your rooms, the first thing we want you to do is look at the top of your Zoom screen and make sure that you have the right category to focus on for the quality indicators. And then you can go ahead and start identifying your strengths and areas or areas of challenge. And I am going to post very quickly the instructions in the chat so that you have these when you're in your rooms as well. Okay, so they are now in the chat for you. Does anyone have any questions before we open the rooms? Okay, we are going to go ahead and open those rooms then. Amy and I will be popping in, so don't be, and Patrick as well. So just so you know, we'll be there if you need any help. All right, I am going to move. All right, here we go. Hi, everyone. Does anyone need any help getting into your room?
Hannah, a few folks are unassigned.
Yes.
Did you want to put them in room 2?
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. You get me in your breakout room. All right. So who would like to help lead this discussion? I can share my screen for the but I'll leave it to you all to give some feedback on these things. So I think we're supposed to be looking at this last section. I'll zoom this in. What are your thoughts? What is one of the challenges of these 4 quality indicators listed here? Did anyone have any feedback they'd like to share?
Hey, Patrick, it's Trisha.
Hey, Trisha, how are you?
Hey, good. Hey, I apologize. We just had to call the police. We had an emergency with a student.
Oh,
So
no.
sorry, I've been kind of in and out. So I just
That's
wanted
okay.
to let you know I'm kind of in and out right now. So that's why I'm not contributing right at the second.
It's okay.
We're
It's
just getting the
okay.
police in right now.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
I
you. It's
apologize.
okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Any others, Michelle, Jackie, or Nancy? All right, I may move you guys then to another room so that we can have you broken out.
Get things ramped up and on a roll. COVID hit, so everything sort of hit the fan. So
Now we're being recorded, Patrick. What the heck?
Well, thanks,
I
Bonnie.
will
That's really good
deny
contact.
everything. I will
You were
deny
saying how
everything, no
wonderful
matter what
Patrick
comes
is.
out of my mouth.
Just making sure you're on task, making sure you're on
We were doing
task.
intros, and to be honest, I forgot to check. Let's see if Tammy or Bonnie, we check the name of our breakout?
Well,
One.
actually,
I
I
think
was
it's
just gonna
one.
ask. I don't see it.
It was breakout room 1.
So I
Wait,
thought
but-
there was gonna be something listed on the top
You,
of the
yeah.
screen.
So, hi guys, I'm here to help you with that. You
Great.
guys are discussing IET program design, the first
Program.
category.
Okay.
So, all right,
Well,
I
that
just
actually
wanted,
was what we were doing. So you hit it, right?
awesome. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what you were doing and that you had the handout, but you guys are A students, of course, so have a great conversation.
Thank
How much
you.
time do we have?
You have about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we have numbers 1 through 8. So we have to say which one of those we found we were skilled at and which ones are challenging.
Yeah,
from 1
challenge.
through 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a moment and pull that up and read it one more time. Okay, these are ringing a bell.
Would you mind sharing that, Brianne?
Oh no, of course, yeah. Let me share.
Oh, you could just share it verbally.
Oh,
No, but this is great too. I like.
Okay.
I need a visual as well. I
Yeah, I
can
can-
use all sources.
So since I used number 7 in the other, where I talked about, I'm going to put in the chat number 3. I feel like we do this very well because of our ESL population that we're servicing. They are students that have these, credentials from other countries that are working at Meijer or fast food or a gas station because they're not able to use their skill set. So being able to take those underrepresented and underserved communities, I feel they're underserved because there should be better ways for those degrees and those skill sets to transfer without having to start all over. So not only are they underserved because they have a language barrier, maybe a financial barrier, but because they have the skill set and they go from being a dentist to working at Meijer. It's just not right. So I guess that would be the one I would say we're doing well with now because we offer many different IET pathways. So we have health, we have IT, we have education, we have banking and HR. So we have very diverse offerings for a very diverse population.
that's wonderful.
Is it something specific in the health area, Tammy?
Oh my gosh, we do a lot of them right now. Most of them are done through MedCerts, but we're looking at changing a couple of them. But there's like pharmacy tech, medical billing and coding, phlebotomy. Those are the ones that come to the top of my head right away.
And the IELC program pays for all of that, or is there any out-of-pocket expenses?
So they don't have out-of-pocket expenses usually. Michigan Works, we have braided funding with Michigan Works. So Michigan Works, we have some ESL students that test out and they become our English Plus students. So we can't pay for them with IELCE. So Michigan Works pays for the training portion of IET for our non-ESL students. And sometimes some of our ESL if they have enough funding. And then we pay for the training and the classes and everything. For our ESL students, we're pretty much all inclusive with ourselves, what we can offer. Because we also have career navigators to help with all of the resume writing, the job searches, the, you know, the application process for all of that. Because as much as we have a great relationship with our Michigan Works, these students require so much handholding that Michigan Works just doesn't have the capacity to go step by step. You go into Michigan Works and look for a job, they're going to send you on a computer, right? So we've really found it's best for us to pull all that in-house with our lab.
Wow.
And we offer career gateway and business communication classes now also as an addition to their ESL or their English Plus classes to help with that workforce preparation piece.
Nice.
What was the second one? I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's career gateway and
Yeah.
business communications.
Business communication, okay.
Those are two more offerings that they don't even have to be an IET to take. It's like the prep for IET to make sure like they can figure out if it's going to be a good fit. So we have ESL students that take those in preparation if they're going to go into. That's for anybody.
I would say, so Bonnie, for a little bit of context, I work for the MACAE Intermediate School District. I'm an adult
Okay.
education consultant.
Okay.
So, and I've been in this role just coming up on 2 years. It's going to be my 2-year anniversary. I would say, speaking of Macomb County, I think we have a strength because we have a lot of information about the labor market. We're really good with that kind of data. I think we struggle in like coming together. So maybe number 4 would be the challenge. Establishing a common vision and developing a set of learner, program, and partner goals. I feel like we struggle with that in Macomb County. So that would be, strength would be 1 would be a strength, and then 4 would be a challenge for us. Yeah. And Tammy, did you want to share a challenge for your program?
I would say 8, even though we do get support from Michigan Works. You know, we have access to do IET with the general instructional WIOA grant, but there's no opportunity to pay for any training in that. While other states have that same federal grant and they're allowed 10 or 20% of that grant to be training. So I think that's a Michigan decision, not a federal decision. So that really impacts, we are dependent on Michigan Works and they don't always know their budgets on the same timeline as we do. Yeah. So that impacts our opportunity to do orientation and get them prepped to start we have them start like their summer. In the summer, they start doing some of their online keyboarding classes and computer digital literacy and things like that they do in the summer to be ready to start their training program in the fall. So I would say 8 would be our tricky one.
That pretty much decided, you know, what the need is and reached out to the community, to the industry and whatnot. Our role was to provide the teachers for the non-industry training portion and to also help find students or to recruit students. The college was also going to recruit students, but we had everything ready to go. However, our workforce development partner did not see through to the tasks that they needed to complete in order for us to get our program started. So in our case, like I said, our community college component or our providers that would do the training, and in our case, it was industrial sewing, were the ones that collaborated with the industries. Hi, Marcella. Hi, Patrick. So we're talking, Diana and Jeanette are driving, so it's hard for them to jump in and we're doing the collaboration and the industry engagement, and Diana's shared out with us. Jeanette has not, but Marcella, if you want to read those 3, and Hannah's on here too now. If you want to read those 3 indicators and you want to respond, I've been talking for the last 5 minutes, so I think they're tired of hearing from me. We currently do not have an IET program. Just short and brief, we attempted one and it did not pan through to completion.
Hi, you guys. Just wanted
Hi, Jeanette.
Sorry, I was listening to you and I had to in and out, but we also
say-
do not have an IET program. I'm basically here to kind of learn a little bit more about it. So I'm sorry, I don't have a whole lot of input.
I think one of the challenges, to your point, Jeanette, and yours, EO too, is that as a state, we need to focus more efforts and energy on what does it take to build that from the ground up, right? So we hear kind of the elements of it, and we've talked about kind of the 30,000 strategy, but you know, here is kind of the toolkit of the funding ask that it would take. You know, what are some of the maybe, you know, most common, kind of talking about that repository that Hannah and Amy were mentioning, what are some of the most identifiable pathways, you know, or training opportunities? Those are the things that I was hoping that this conversation might spur. So thank you for sharing that as we kind of think forward about the future of that. So, you know, it looks like we've got 10 seconds left. So
Thank you for that, Patrick.
The 10 seconds, we can build other programs, but if we don't offer childcare, they're not accessible.
Welcome back, everyone. I know those breakout rooms always go so quickly, and also Zoom is always changing the tech on us. So I heard you could not see your room names once you were in the room, but I'm glad that you were able to jump into the activity even with that slight tech hiccup. I would love to hear from the groups now about a theme or an idea that floated to the top of your conversation. And I am going to ask someone from group 1, which was the IET Program Design Group, the reporter, would you mind sharing out? And Bonnie, Brianne, Joy, and T. Brown were in that group.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. So I'll start with the challenge that we identified, because it was definitely a theme about funding, and specifically the fluctuation in funding. Like there's temporary funding that we can do some stuff with, but then that's gone, or we're working with partners.
There, huh?
So that's just really challenging. I also identified as someone looking to help support that number 4 of building a shared vision, I think is challenging in the beginning, and bringing together multiple entities. In regards to strengths, we talked about 3 that they're doing, the programs are doing a really great job of reaching a diverse population and the population that really needs it. And I also think I'm in Macomb County, and I think Macomb County has a lot of great data about their labor market, having served on their workforce development board, and also attending other presentations. So that I think that's a really great strength that could be built upon.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Brianne, and thank you for reporting out for your group. Group 1, if you want to add anything else to the chat, please feel free to do that you would like to highlight for the whole group as well. I'm not going to go in order just based on time, so I'm going to see if someone else from one of the other groups would like to report out.
I can report out for the group. It was to look at the program management staffing organization support 21 through 24.
Thanks, Karen.
So just overall, we had 3 programs. It was Sturgis, Ann Arbor, and Detroit, and 2 of the programs have not started it. So they've been kind of looking at some of the tools, looking at opportunities, thinking about how they can build the program with what they do and who are the partners that they need. And so I think they're in the beginning stages where they've, you know, had the conversations. They're training the staff so they understand what all the programs and the components that need to be there, and just addressing how would they go about doing some of the training and the funding. For us in Detroit, we've been doing it for a couple of years now, and it's actually the way we do our training. And so we pretty much do that. We look at the data. We've actually reported out that doing the IET model has helped tremendously with our retention rate and our outcomes. And our staff is continuously looking at how we can improve curriculum with each cohort that we have, and along with the trainers, and that we are always looking for sustainability, and really an issue, of course, is always just funding.
Yeah, Karen, thank you for sharing that. And I think that these quality indicators, like we've said, they're so useful for programs who are just getting started and for programs who have been doing this work for a while. But I'm also glad that you had the opportunity to share with the programs who are starting this work, because I'm sure you had a lot of valuable information to share with them. For those of you who are just starting, I want to remind you that Amy highlighted a resource earlier today, the IET Design Toolkit. We shared the link in the chat with you. That's a great resource for you. It's a great resource for anybody, but I heard you specifically say those getting started, Karen, so I want to remind everyone that that's a really valuable resource. So I want to invite one more group to unmute, and then we will make sure to wrap up on time today. Is there one more group that wants to share about their discussion?
I can share. This is Mandy Summers from Beering Cass Van Buren Michigan Works. Our team had curriculum and instruction, so numbers 12 through 17. We are all kind of new to the game. Some of us have CTE programs, others are kind of going through the IET process and hasn't been approved yet. Just kind of wrote it out and just trying to get it going. So one of the things that the people that have been doing CTE and are looking into IET have found to be really like a strong suit has been that number 13, providing opportunities for students to connect to and apply learning to real world and real work related situations. You know, a lot of opportunities for some of those manufacturing things, some of those healthcare related situations, things like that. So that's been really helpful. One of the things that has been a struggle, opportunities for improvement, number 17, having a curriculum that reflects the essential knowledge, skills, and credentials required for employment in the sector and identified by industry and employer experts. Some of us have had trouble connecting with some of those experts, finding resources, having people that maybe say that they're interested in helping us, but then are like, oh, I really don't have the time to commit to this, and things like that. So I see some people nodding their heads on the video too. So just some of those things, maybe some extra language of how to connect with those people, how to get them to support us. I know I understand, like, we've tried to use the, hey, we're trying to help you get more skilled laborers for your jobs and for your work. So, you know, help us help you. I know we've tried that language before, but are there any other, like, maybe ideas or things like that that can help support that?
That's a great question, Mandy. And yeah, I saw a lot of people nodding along as you were speaking. So I'd encourage your colleagues to put ideas in the chat. And for those of you who didn't have a chance to report out, if there's any last comments you want to make, go ahead and put those in the chat as well. And I also want to invite you to put questions in the chat too. We're going to move into wrap up so that we can make sure again that we get you out on time today. So again, I'm inviting you to put any questions in the chat, and Amy and I will get to those once we've done our last couple wrap up slides. So we just want to remind you on this slide that we're highlighting some of the resources that you can access related to IET. They are free, they are publicly available. I mentioned, and Amy mentioned, the IET Design Toolkit. There's also facilitator guides there as well on that Advance IET Federal Initiative page, which is the first link you see on the screen. I'll put these links, Amy put them in the chat already. Thank you, Amy. There's also the links resource collection, which has a lot of resources related to IET and career pathways. And then finally, we want to highlight that there's also an IET and corrections guide on links. And that project has a lot of upcoming TA as well. So if that's relevant to your context, we encourage you to check that out as well. And so with that, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget that if you have any questions or you want to contact us, there is an email address on the slide that you can use to contact Amy and I, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you all so much for being here and for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Have a great conference.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you all soon.